Hello everybody, welcome back to the internet once again. I've decided to look into some entitled people because, anybody can be entitled, not just parents. So let's just jump into the first story. So this one's called, Entitled Mom Tries to Steal My Gaming Computer. I went to Baskin-Robbins. I decided to play a game on my gaming computer, cause why not? So I see this kid sitting at another table staring at my computer. I quickly dismiss this and continue playing. This is when Entitled Mom decides to walk up to me. She says, "Hey, can my son play some of your games? He's bored and I want to entertain him." I say, "No, I'm already playing on it." She says, "Oh, surely a few games won't bother you. Besides, he's just a kid." She then proceeds to grab my computer from me, but I sense this and quickly grab it from her. She says, "Hey, my angel has been good this week and I want to reward him." I say, "This is my computer I paid for and I want to get the most out of it. If you wanted your kid to be entertained, then you should have thought of that before." The kid says, "Mom, I'm really bored." She says, "See? You're denying my little angel of entertainment, you monster." The kid snatches my computer as I'm preoccupied with Entitled Mom. I say, "Hey, give that back." She says, "No, this is my computer now because you denied my precious angel of what he deserves more than you do. I also expect $20 in payment for the games because of what you did." I say, "Give me my computer back." The employee there hears and comes over. He says, "What's going on here?" The Entitled Mom says, "He tried to assault me and rob me of this computer. Arrest him." The employee says, "Can you guys try to open the computer?" The Entitled Mom and kid both try several times, failing to get past the lock, with the excuse of forgetting the passcode. I then proceed to try to open it first try. The Entitled Mom punches me and ran out of the store with the unlocked computer. The thing is, she ran into the sushi restaurant next to Baskin-Robbins. I called the police. They then tried the same thing the worker did, with the same result. I showed them the bruise of her punching me, and they arrest her on the spot. Seeing her being driven away in a police car was one of the happiest days of my life. I also got free ice cream from Baskin-Robbins for my troubles, if that changes anything. Hey, that's a pretty happy ending, man. I almost think it's good that these entitled people sort of get caught in the act. Because if somebody's just like... If somebody is this bad, but just gets to continue going on with their life and just being rude to people all the time, then I think that that's worse than if they come out and do it publicly and then get in trouble for it. So the fact that she got arrested is pretty cool. So this one is called, Entitled Teacher Tries to Make Me Wear a Hoodie and Sweats in the Summer. So let me set the scene. I live in Canada and it's pretty hot in the summer here. It was possibly 35 degrees Celsius, about 95 to 100 Fahrenheit. And I'm in a loose top that has one strap and a flowy skirt to match it. I felt pretty and got tons of compliments on my cute style, even by teachers. Bear in mind I was very shy and was classified as the quiet yet kind one in school. I was slightly put off by it at first, but grew used to it through the day. Skip to lunchtime. So I was eating my food casually, making sure not to show anything. While it was one strapped, it wasn't super low cut top, but would slide down a little from time to time. The entitled teacher enters. He says, "Why are you wearing that? It violates the dress code." It technically did, but I saw about 100 other girls wearing the same thing. I say, "It's just hot out today, and I wanted to dress weather appropriately." The teacher says, "It's not that hot out. Do you have a hoodie or something to cover up?" I say, "No, it's like 30 degrees outside." He says, "Stop making excuses. Come with me so we can find you something more suitable to wear." He literally grabs me and drags me to the lost and found and tells me to put on a pair of guys' sweats and nasty sweaty hoodie that smelled like it hadn't been washed in quite a while. The teacher says, "Put these on and come out when you have them on." I say, "Okay." With tons of hesitation and about a bottle of perfume later, I come out. She seems satisfied, and I go to my next classroom, almost in tears because she ignored all the other girls and just singled me out. But enter the hero teacher. He says, "Bessie, what's wrong?" I say, "The entitled teacher made me put these clothes on because I look like a slut." She didn't say that, it's just how I interpreted it. Well, the hero teacher was not happy and told me to pull off the hoodie and sweats, which I happily did, and he told me I looked fine, as he had seen tons of other girls dressed way worse, and that I dressed wisely, as I could have had a heat stroke on my way home from school, and said he'd deal with the entitled teacher. I don't know what happened between them to this day, but I'd see her shoot glares at me from time to time. This isn't totally accurate, it just happened 8 years ago, it's just the basics of what happened. Yeah, I don't know why a teacher would want to call out or single out a certain person in that way. And on to the final and longest story. This one is called, My Child Can Play in the Road All They Want and I Will Steal Your Packages If You Say Otherwise. So some background. My mom has been diagnosed with colon cancer and spent a good long while recovering from her surgery to move the mass in her colon. The next few months had consisted of my mom going in and out of ICU. Her house was 2 hours away from where she stayed at the hospital. So when I would go to see her, it would be after work, so I wouldn't have to drive as far, and I wouldn't get home until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. There's this family that was infamous in our neighborhood. They're the type of kids that would egg, teepee, and throw rocks at people's houses, and Mom would insist they were pure angels. They were mostly known for the kids playing in the street and not getting out of the way when cars would come down the street, and Mom would get super pissed off if you asked the kids to get out of the street so cars could drive by. Mom made a homemade sign that she would put out in the middle of the street that was of a little boy with a ball, and the sign in bold black letters saying, Children at play, go down a detour street, and would get mad when people would ignore their sign and drive by anyway. From what I understand, the family had always been warned multiple times by police that this was illegal, but the family always would do it anyway, but don't quote me on that. Moving on, it was 8 o'clock at night and I had just pulled into our neighborhood. It was dark, and since our streets didn't have a lot of street lights, it was really dark and there was no sign out, so I knew the kids were inside. I didn't like having to drive down a side road to get to my house because it was inconvenient, but I would rather not risk running over a kid. I had started to pull up to my house when I saw a bright pink bicycle shoot out of the middle of the road. I'm glad I had fast reflexes and was able to brake just in time. I looked and immediately recognized one of the daughters of the family who was about 6, and wearing all black clothes, by the way. This wasn't the first time I'd have to brake for this kid. They always tended to dart out into the road like it was their playground. But tonight I was not dealing with it and rolled down my window and said something along the lines of, Look, you need to be more careful, okay? You're gonna get hurt one of these days. At least look both ways before you go into the street. The kid didn't say anything. She just gave me this weird look like she was confused as to why I was even talking to her and drove away. I go home and think nothing of it, but I think you all know what's coming. I'm home maybe 20 minutes and the doorbell rings. When I see the mom of the family, who I'll call BM, I groan because I know what's coming. BM looks at me confused before glancing behind me into my house. She says, Is your mom home? I say, No, she's in the hospital right now. Can I help you? I thought BM would have looked shocked or concerned when I told her this, but she just looked confused and a little annoyed. She says, Why is she in the hospital? I say, She had a cancer mass in her colon and had surgery. She's been recovering for a few months now. Is there something I can help you with? She scoffs and says, Well, I wanted to make it clear that you don't talk to my daughter for any reason whatsoever. I say, Excuse me? She says, My daughter came home and told me that you were cussing her out for being on a bike. I don't want you talking to my daughter anymore, or I will get the police involved. Is that clear? I'm in shock at this point, but I have dealt with this mom before. She probably remembers me from another time with my sister. I say, Ma'am, I'm not sure what your daughter told you, but I did not cuss at her. I would never swear at a child. She went into the road while I was driving, and I just told her she should be more careful when going into the street. It was dark, and she was wearing all black clothing, and I could have very easily run her over. She says, Are you calling my daughter a liar? I say, No, ma'am, I was just explaining what happened. I had to slam on the brakes to make sure I didn't hit your daughter, and rolled down my window and told her she should be more careful, that's all. She then goes into full-on lecture mode and dons what I call the Trump move, where she would tell me something with pursed lips while her one hand is flexed in a weird position and enunciating every word, just like Trump does. She says, First of all, you don't tell my child what to do. I say, I didn't tell her what to do. I was giving her a suggestion of what she should do. She says, First of all, you don't tell my child what to do. Second of all, you were obviously speeding if you had to slam on your brakes. You shouldn't drive that fast in this neighborhood. There are kids here, for crying out loud. I say, Ma'am, I was going the speed limit. That's probably why I was able to brake in time before hitting your kid. And you should tell your kids to be more careful while playing in the streets. Boy, that was the wrong move. She's now screeching like a pterodactyl, making incomprehensible noises. The only thing I could pick up at this point were, How dare you? And don't tell me how to raise my children. And the best one of the night, I hope your mom dies in the hospital and rots in hell. At that, I had enough. I pull in my best professional mode, and as calm as can be, I say, Ma'am, unless you have something useful to add, I am choosing to end this conversation. Please leave and don't bother me again. At that, I shut the door in her face. and ignore her constant ringing the doorbell, banging the door, etc., until she finally got tired and left. I later found out that the neighbor threatened to call the police if she didn't leave and quit making so much noise. I wish that was the end of it, but ladies and gents, strap in for the finale. Here we go. So move on to the next day. After work, I get a notification telling me that the package of my stuff I ordered online from my mom had just been delivered. So I head home expecting the goods. Only, you guessed it, the package wasn't there. I looked around, hoping maybe it had just been placed somewhere else by the postman, and even checked with neighbors to see if it had accidentally been delivered to one of their houses. Nope, nothing. I had a sneaking suspicion it was BM, but I was emotionally exhausted and just emailed the company to let them know that I never received the package and left it at that. Cue the next morning. I'm up and heading out the door for work when I open the door. Who could greet me on as lovely a day as this but BM? It's pure freaking coincidence, and couldn't have picked a better time to open the door as she was bent down, placing the package down on my doorstep. She shot straight up and actually looked ashamed to see me as I gave her a knowing smile. I say, "What can I help you with?" Says, "I saw this package on your doorstep last night and I thought I would keep it for safekeeping since I knew your mom was in the hospital and all." This was especially interesting, seeing as how she didn't find out about my mom being in the hospital until after I'd told her, and she already knew I lived there. But I played dumb. I was relishing in this. "Oh, is that right?" She says, "A neighbor told me you were still living here, so I thought I would bring it back." She then proceeds to push the box into my arms and accept it. Look at the box before glancing back at her with what I assume is a raised eyebrow from me. She shifts uncomfortably, but gives me a small glare, and I could tell that she was daring me to say something. But I knew I wasn't going to be late for work if I didn't get a move on, so I placed the package in my house, thanked her, and left after locking the front door. The reason why she was so nervous? Not because she was ashamed of what she had said the previous night, but I assume because the box had obviously been opened and retaped shut with freaking scotch tape. Also, it was full of medical supplies for my mom's wound vac. She was due to come back home soon before they found the fluid in the area for her lungs. The package was full of tubes, bandages, syringes. Probably realized the stuff was useless to her. So, thanks for reading. Hope I made sense. For those that were wondering what happened to my mom, I wish I could say that she's making a full recovery, but unfortunately she passed away later that year. I moved in with my grandmother after she passed and no longer deal with that family. There's a family that lives next door to my grandma with kids that like to play in the road, but they are super polite, and any time a car is coming, they immediately get out of the road so cars can pass, like kids should do. I think the funniest part of this whole story is that the entitled mom steals his packages and then just opens it up, sees that it wasn't worth stealing, and then just goes and returns it. Like, returning it is just going to raise the chances of you getting caught, so I don't know why she was even bothering doing that, but oh well, at least she did get caught. Anyways, that does it for today on the internet, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. Thanks for watching.